I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. The fear was physical. It was like, you know, I could feel it actually coursing through my veins. I just met this guy who had it. He said to me, oh, you know, don't worry about it too much because it won't, you know, you can die from it, but you probably will be fine for another 15 years. And I was absolutely gobsmacked. I didn't know much about it. I didn't know anything about it, and more importantly, nor did my doctor. When I went to get the results of the test, he was looking at the screen in front of me and he said, well, you seem to be all right then. And I looked at it and I said, what does that say? Because I could see it said Hepatitis C detected. And he looked at it and he said, oh, okay, well, they've detected Hepatitis C. Oh, you'll be fine, you'll be fine.
You can't forget that it is potentially fatal. And, you know, so obviously it's gonna have affected her. But Gemma's a very, very tough person. She has a very resilient character and she is naturally a survivor.
Well, before I was diagnosed, I worked in the music industry. I mean, I had a ball, I had a good time. But actually, you know, I was always ill. And I never ever put a full week's work in, ever, which I was able to get away with because of my industry. I had pain there. I'd been having pain there for years and years. And I'd gone to the doctor quite a lot about it and said, and complained about it, and they just told me that I couldn't have pain there because you can't feel your liver. But in fact, that's one of the classic symptoms of Hep C, is you get upper right quadrant pain. My quality of life was so impaired, is so impaired by having the disease. I'm so tired. I suffer, you know, sort of physically and psychologically from just the whole kind of stigma attached to having it.
It's December 2004. I've had hepatitis C for 17 years and I've decided to undergo treatment, even though there is no certainty of a cure and the side effects can be very unpleasant.
I felt that at my age, I'm too young to resign myself to a life of not working or just working part-time. I don't feel, for me, this is a full life. This is just half a life that I'm living. It really swayed my decision. It meant, you know, it made me think I've got to give it a go. You can't predict how you're going to react to drugs. One of the side effects of the treatment, in fact, is that you can have your bone marrow wiped out. Another side effect is your thyroid can be damaged. On very, very extreme cases, you can actually go blind. Your hair might fall out. Apparently, the ribavirin makes you sort of rage. And I'm worried about getting unstable and angry and I was going to say violent then. Well, I might become violent, I don't know. I'm very, very worried about my ability to sort of be a decent mother during treatment. I'm worried about the fatigue as well. You know, do stuff with him, not just be a mum that lies on the sofa.
She's become very open about it, and she, you know, you can see that she wants to, you know, break down any stigmas concerning it, and so she's turned it into a positive, and I can only but admire that.
I want to live a full life. I'd love to meet someone and have another baby. Still just about could fit it in.
I knew there were around 50,000 people in Britain with HIV and AIDS, but I was amazed to find out that 10 times that many have hepatitis C. We don't hear much about Hep C, mainly because most people don't know they have it. You can carry the virus for years before the symptoms become obvious. Once I decided to undergo treatment, I set about finding out as much as I could about the disease. The leading authority on the subject is Professor Graham Foster.
Hepatitis C is a virus and it travels in the blood. Once it gets into the blood, it goes to the liver, and in the liver it sets up an inflammatory process, that's a sort of bruising of the liver, and that inflammation gradually causes little scarring of the liver to develop. Now, a little bit of scarring isn't a problem, but if the scarring slowly gets worse and worse and worse, you can end up with a process called cirrhosis, where the liver is permanently scarred. Now, unfortunately, once you have cirrhosis, it's very difficult to reverse the scarring and return the liver to normal, and you then have a very high chance of developing a complication of cirrhosis, either a tumour in the liver or liver failure.
It's my first day of treatment, which could go on for 12 months, and with the strain of virus I carry, my chances of success are only 50%.
Okay, and we're going at a 90-degree angle. Okay, just push the solution in. Okay.
So what would it be? It'll be 4 weeks coming in, and then you just start doing it on your own.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing your week 0 viral load test today, and obviously at week 12 we'll be rechecking to see if you responded to treatment.
The first treatment milestone is at 12 weeks, when I'll be tested to see if I'm responding to the drugs. If I'm not, they'll discontinue the treatment, which would be a huge blow for both me and my son Louie.
Hello, my name is Louie. This is Gemma. We're friends. Yes, very good friends. In fact, we're mum and son. La la la. Go on, let's sing good morning, good morning. Good morning,
Look at her face.
good morning. How are you? Good morning, good morning.
Look, they just go, you. Oh, property, damn it. Can you go and get me a duvet? No.
Yeah.
I can't really get comfy. I can't stop moving. I'm just moving because I can't actually get comfortable. I've got pain shooting everywhere. I've got a headache. I'm feeling the full force of it now. It's in my arms. It's in my fingers. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Yeah, headache's bad. Oh, I'm just in pain. Everything I do is really laboured. Getting up is really laboured. I never knew going to the toilet could be so much of an endurance test.
After 2 months of debilitating headaches, flu symptoms and tiredness, I really needed help to cope with my daily life. I'm having difficulty getting about, I'm having difficulty going on public transport, and I get very out of breath, walking anywhere, is a problem. So I applied for a disabled badge, thinking, it wouldn't really be much of a problem, and I got turned down. So I appealed, and yesterday I had an interview for my appeal. I think really you've got to be like limbless to apply to qualify for one. Because you have to be literally crawling. She said, well, you should have found it difficult getting, because her office was upstairs, but I asked to go in the lift. There should be some help. There really should be some help. This is something that needs to be addressed. On treatment, you are absolutely debilitated and you are weak and you are ill. And yet there's absolutely nothing in place to help you. I couldn't understand why a disease this dangerous wasn't taken seriously. During my treatment, I decided to work as a volunteer at the Hepatitis C Trust, so I talked to its chief executive, Charles Gore, about this.
This is an infectious disease. 500,000 people probably have it. We should be doing more to monitor this. We have absolutely no real idea of the number of new cases each year.
So what is the government doing? I believe it has got an action plan. Is this being implemented?
Unfortunately, the action plan in England lacks a timetable, it lacks targets, and it lacks ring-fenced money. Really, service provision is still very poor. If we go on like this, we will find that thousands, tens of thousands of people are going to die of this disease, and they're going to die completely needlessly. I just feel that the government thinks it can get away with doing this in a leisurely manner because there isn't this huge outcry about it. And that's partly because people with this disease are very debilitated.
To find out more about the long-term consequences of hepatitis C, I went to visit hepatologist Dr. Stephen Ryder at Queen's Medical Centre in Nottingham.
Yeah, I'm just about to drain the fluid from Gary's abdomen, which is called ascites. So this is one of the problems you get if your liver doesn't work very well, that you get this build-up of fluid.
When I saw the true horror of end-stage liver disease, I felt angry that the government had invested so little to make people aware of it.
The amount of money spent on raising public awareness of hepatitis C is dwarfed by the amount spent on HIV back in the 1980s. And hence that amount of awareness among the public is dramatically less. It looks a bit scary, the needle, but it really does sort of ruin your quality of life. You know, you're sort of very distended with all that fluid. So this is a very quick way of dealing with it, just draining it all off. Originally, hepatitis C was thought to be a very mild disease. We now know it's not. But awareness among the medical profession about how common it is, how severe an illness it is, and also the fact that it's very curable if it's treated early, is really not generally available.
Oh, come on. So fucking stressful. When you're late for an appointment and there's loads of traffic.
I'm 12 weeks into treatment now and on my way to have the test to see whether I'm responding. I'm finding it increasingly hard to control my temper. I had been warned this was a side effect I could expect.
Come on, you bloody turd. What is she fucking doing? I'd like to attack someone. I really would. I'd like to have a really good fight with someone. Like really punch them and be violent.
Right, you okay?
Yeah.
Is it just sort of the rush to get here and being a bit delayed that you feel a bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or is it just having the test on today?
Oh yeah, there's that. I'm a bit tense about that, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you just tell me exactly what it means?
We have to see a drop in the viral load to show that you are responding to treatment. Obviously at week 12 we can tell whether you are responding. If you're not responding, we will stop the treatment. Yeah. I mean, there are things obviously which are in your favour. You've managed to tolerate full dose so far, haven't you? You know, you are under the age of 40.
Yeah.
You know, you're not consuming alcohol, you're not obese, and you're female as well. And basically, that kind of patient group tend to do better than others. So,
the more I learn, the more I realise I was right to do it now. Because I keep coming across older people that have a very bad time during treatment.
Sure.
And then and some of them don't clear it. And I just think, well, I think it's probably, I think I'm right to do it now.
I've got to wait 4 weeks now for my test results.
A lot of people are worried about hepatitis C, and there's a lot of nonsense talked about how you can catch hepatitis C. So kissing, sharing coffee cups, sharing knives and forks, sharing crockery is not going to transmit hepatitis C. Casual day-to-day contact with people is never going to pass this virus on. So you really do not need to put people into a leper category just because they've got a blood-borne virus. It's a lot less infectious than many viruses, and it's quite hard to catch.
A leper category is exactly where former nurse Catherine and her partner Steve found themselves when she tried to help publicise the dangers of this disease.
I was on the BBC News for the Hep C Awareness Day, and previous to that we hadn't hidden the fact that I'd got Hep C. The children knew I had a liver disease, and Steve's ex-wife saw the programme, and her reaction was a huge one. I mean, she was shocked and acutely anxious for the children's sake. We got an email with a list of demands really, which was that Steve was tested to make sure that he was negative, and also to exclude me from the household effectively when the children were here. So it put Steve in a really difficult position.
She was a concerned mother. I mean, I do understand, but we felt that we were giving enough assurances that of course we love the children and we're not about to allow harm to come to them. You know, I'm their dad.
Every source of information I'd looked at and my family had looked at suggested that Hep C isn't transferable by saliva, and that was the big stumbling block, which is why it went to court.
It took 4 months of legal wrangling before Catherine and Steve were granted access to see his children once more. This whole ordeal was the unfortunate outcome of her willingness to speak publicly.
I felt I was punished for sort of several months afterwards, and so was Steve and so were the children, and it was really all born out of ignorance.
Hepatitis C is a blood-borne virus. It gets into your body by blood-to-blood contact, so the only way from getting it is getting someone else's blood into your body, and there are lots of ways you can do that. So if you've had healthcare abroad in a country where they don't sterilise the equipment properly, you're at risk of hepatitis C. There's a real risk of transmission via blood transfusion in all parts of the world before 1990. And then we move into another big group of people with this virus who've used recreational drugs in the past. Then there are some other very low risk activities for hepatitis C, having a tattoo with needles that aren't sterilised, having an ear piercing or a navel piercing with improperly sterilised equipment does put you at a little bit of risk.
The flu symptoms every single day. I get so tired. Just trying to contain the headache. And these make your hair fall out.
14 weeks into my treatment, I had to make my own decision about how I dealt with the stigma.
Before it just looks horrible, I'd rather do something about it. It's not like it was. I mean, I know it isn't. You know what though? I'm not going to tell the guy I've got Hep C at the hairdresser's. I'm just going to say it's a chronic liver disease. And he's using scissors and, you know, who knows? Who knows? It might make him feel incredibly uncomfortable. So it's not that I don't want to put him in that position even. I don't actually want to put myself in that position whereby I'm, you know, possibly at the hands of someone that is disgusted by me, you know. I think if I had cancer, people would find it a lot more palatable. Basically, hepatitis C isn't a very palatable illness. You know, there is a stigma attached to it, and it's difficult to feel sorry for someone with it, really, I guess.
Are you happy with it?
I mean, I don't like it. I know he's done a good job and everything, but it's just, it'll take a bit of getting used to. I've never had hair this short for a long time. I don't feel very feminine. I've got the results of my PCR test next week, which means I'll find out if I'm responding to treatment or not. I got sort of so emotional thinking about whether I was clear or not, or whether I was responding or not, that my heart was getting palpitations if I thought about it. So I've got a lot pinned on Tuesday, really. And yeah, I really, really, really hope with all my heart that I'm responding.
I just turn the computer screen round and just get your name up. And it's good news.
Good news.
Okay. It's good news. Okay. So, you've had a 4-log drop.
Really?
Yeah, so you've had a good response.
Is it still detectable? But
It's still detectable,
right.
Yes, but you know, obviously we normally require like a 2-log drop, and yours is dropped by 4 logs, so
that's
it's an
good.
even greater drop. Good.
It's funny actually, I dreamt last night that it would be, because I know a lot of people go clear at this stage, but I dreamt last night that I wouldn't have gone clear, but it would have dropped.
Really?
So,
That's
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Oh, hi Daddy, it's me. Yeah, no, I'm responding. Yeah, no, it's good news, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good anyway. I've had a 4-log drop.
The 4-log drop meant that the drugs were working and I was thrilled, but not everyone can tolerate the treatment, as I was reminded when Louie and I went to see Eileen Rendell.
Well, I was looking after a patient and I was taking blood from a vein, and we use a little butterfly needle, and I took the needle out of the patient's arm when I'd finished taking the blood and went to flick it into the bin for sharps, and it just caught on the end and flicked up and it stuck in my finger. It's blood to blood, so that was in, the patient's blood had been on the end of that needle and it stuck into me, so it went into my blood. I felt dirty, contaminated. I wouldn't tell any of my friends for about a year because I thought they wouldn't want me near their children. I just felt awful.
And have you had treatment?
Yes, for 3 months. I should have had it for a year, but I became so ill that I was rushed into hospital.
How has it affected your life?
Well, I would say I'm probably about 80% less active than I used to be. I just get this awful fatigue and exhaustion. have a sleep every afternoon, no matter how many hours sleep I've had at night. Tend to get disrupted sleep at night. I can't go out and have a drink with my friends or anything like that. Or at a wedding, I can't have a glass of champagne or anything.
We're going to do a big shop, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But John gets any heavy stuff for me, so
okay.
milk and things like that.
Oh, okay. Heavy stuff like milk.
Yeah.
Because Eileen couldn't tolerate the treatment, she faces living with the disease, and I so admire her courage. Meanwhile, the drugs were driving me mad, but I was hoping that for me, the payoff would be a cure.
I mean, I shouted at a policeman the other day. I was like 2 police cars blocking my drive, and I went, "Get out the way." One of them turns around and goes like that, and I went, "No, get out the way." And he came out of his car and he went, "What is your problem?" I went, "I'm late." And he went, some old woman's been mugged, don't you care?" And I went, "No, I'm late. Seriously. Oh, God. And Louie was in the car and the policeman goes, "Do you want me to arrest you in front of your daughter?" And I went, "It's a boy." And then, as he walked off, I went, "Twat. Seriously?" And then, this is how mad I am. That's why I don't go out. And then he got in his car. And the police woman who he was with looked back, and I went like that. Seriously. And then I went like that. And then no. Yeah. And then I sped off really quite quickly, thinking, "Oh God." And Louie went, "You are mad. You're just mad." And I said, "I'd probably got off with that because I'm on treatment." And then I thought, what am I doing? Behaving like this in front of Louie when I tell him to behave, you know, to teachers, and I'm, oh God, I'm not safe to go out.
Do you think she's coping with the treatment?
Yeah, I think she's coping very well. She hasn't changed really, only it's the drugs that are making her change. It's making her get more angry, you know, multiplying her feelings. So if she feels anger, she'll feel it a lot more than she would. She feels sadness, then she'll feel it a lot more than she would. Just stuff like that.
Look, and I think he's a good advocate for hoodies, isn't he?
Yeah.
Look, hoodies aren't horrible, they're lovely.
Get off me!
No, never. No, can't.
Get off! I just spilled
you
the
just
water again!
Oh!
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? Louie? Oh, Jesus Christ! Do you know what? Go and get something to clear it up with. I'm so breathless. I feel like I can only breathe to like there. Do you know what I mean? I think I've been getting depressed, really. But instead of getting upset and crying, I've been getting angry. And then my brother said that Louie's behaviour was a bit aggressive, and then that really worried me because he's obviously sort of aping me. It's very, very scary thinking you're losing control and can't look after your child. Yeah, really terrifying. Feeling that you've hurt your child in any way.
When I succeeded in kicking my drug habit in the late 80s, I never imagined what a sinister legacy it would leave.
People out there who are at significant risk are people who've ever injected drugs at any time. It only needs to have been once, really, to expose themselves to this virus. There's this very large number of people whose risk factor may have been 20 years ago, who feel fine, are out there with this virus, potentially attacking their liver, and they just don't know.
It's not only drug users who are unaware of the danger they're in. I went to Nottingham to meet Liana Stevens, who'd never had any symptoms and had no idea she was at risk.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
My mum died of Hep C, and shortly after she died I found out I was positive.
of Hep C myself, so in utero is what they call it, and that's mother to baby transmission. So I've had Hep C all my life, but I didn't know it. When my doctor gave me my result, she just said, she was really honest, said she didn't know anything about it. But then she also said, but you haven't had any symptoms, you look fine, so I'm sure it's nothing to worry about. I'm not sure if that was because she was telling me I was pregnant at the same time, but you know, she very much implied that I didn't really have to worry. And the biopsy showed that I have got cirrhosis. I felt very scared because my mum had actually passed away from cirrhosis of the liver.
Liana was put on treatment but failed to respond. Although new drugs are being researched, at present there isn't an alternative, and Liana is coming to terms with what this means for her.
Hepatitis C is my life now. Every day I have to get up and think about it. Every time I feel a twinge in my side, and I feel like I can't even make a lot of plans for the future because I don't know what's going on. After having Finley, if I'd known what I know, I don't think I would have been so quick to have children. And now the decision I've made is that I'm not going to have any more children naturally. And that has fundamentally impacted on me because I wanted a big family. And I get really upset because I wanted more children.
Me too.
Liana's sadness really struck a chord with me. One of my goals at the outset of treatment was to clear the virus and be able to have more children.
Today is the 12th of July and it's the exact middle point of my treatment. I found the whole emotional side of treatment really tough, really tough. So now I'm on these antidepressants, which I don't really like being on them because I don't really have any feelings now. Well, I'm just very detached. But the upshot of it is I'm in a better state to look after Louie and, you know, not get upset about all the sort of normal things that a child does. And but yeah, I'm very tired. I just it's grueling. It's really grueling. I think for the people that have to do the whole year, this point is tough. Louie! 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 Oh, he's a little fucker. Louie! And we were filming and you knew that! Hi.
What should I cook?
Well, there's rice, there's pasta, there's lots of salad stuff, there's smoked salmon, there's bacon. And guess what's for pudding?
Dunno. Trifle.
No. Knickerbocker glory.
Really?
No.
What?
Oh, tiramisu. I don't know why I said it like that because it's Louie's favourite pudding.
Oh yeah, I don't give a shit about tiramisu. Excellent.
Six months in, I was struggling to cope, so I went to spend the summer with my parents in Eastbourne.
I've never felt exhaustion like it, ever in my life. It's just an exhaustion that you cannot even go, oh well, I'll just get up and, you know, get through it. You just can't move. It's Tuesday today and I'm going to do number 32 tonight. And, you know, I've been staying here for 6 weeks and I've got to go back now because Louie's got to go back to school and I'm dreading it. When I'm there, I'll have to do nothing all day to have the energy to make Louie supper in the evening and see to him. Louie doesn't really give me any concessions at the moment. So yeah, he's just sort of bored of it really, and it is boring. And also a year for a kid is much longer than a year for an adult. It must feel for him like it's been going on forever.
Oh, we're on camera! No!
'When I visited Dr. Ryder, I asked him why some treatments are longer than others and why the drugs cause side effects.
Interferon is a chemical that we make in our own bodies to fight viral infections. So when we give people interferon, they get symptoms very much like the flu. Ribavirin works, again, mainly by boosting the body's defence mechanisms against the virus. With hepatitis C, there are 6 major genotypes of virus. Some of them are easier to treat than others. So certainly in the UK, if you're infected with genotype 2 or 3, then those viruses seem very responsive to interferon. So cure rates are very high and people only have to have a short course of treatment. If people are infected with genotype 1 or 4 as well, those are more difficult to treat. Those viruses are sort of inherently more resistant to interferon, and that means people have to stay on treatment for longer and the cure rates are slightly lower.
Back in London, I was feeling so bad I hardly ever left the house, and my friends couldn't seem to understand.
No, I've had people, however well-meaning they are, you know, just don't listen. I've got one real repeat offender friend, and the other day we went for a picnic and she said, "Oh, are you up to playing volleyball?" Right, look, do you know what I mean? What do you think I'm talking about? What really bugs me is that you just think, well, do you listen to me or do you think I'm lying when I say that I'm really fucking feel awful at the moment, I haven't got any energy, and, you know, if I could go and play volleyball and stuff, I really would have nothing to complain about.
When I met Charles Gore, I asked him why the side effects are so severe.
I know what it's like, and you say to people, I feel tired, and they simply don't understand what you mean by that. The thing is, this is a very complicated, very smart virus that mutates fast and easily, and trying to kill it is very difficult, and developing drugs that do so effectively is not easy, and I don't think people should expect not to have side effects.
Have they been tested properly? Have they been...
The testing process is very long and very complex and hugely expensive and entirely borne by the drug companies. And they do their best. There are side effects. You know, I had quite serious side effects myself. But at the same time, this has almost certainly saved me from needing a transplant or dying from this disease.
Lying around doing nothing gave me plenty of time to reflect on why hepatitis C wasn't taken seriously. Unlike HIV and AIDS, it didn't pose an immediate threat of death, and Hep C patients are far less vocal. But this is an epidemic, and the cost of inaction is high.
We need to raise awareness of hepatitis C. We need to put in place the infrastructure to treat more people with hepatitis C, and we need to spend more money researching hepatitis C. We saw from the HIV campaigns in the 1980s that you need to have some joined up thinking in attacking problems of this magnitude. There's no point raising public awareness unless you're prepared to offer treatment and support to those people who are infected.
Very shortly, the health service is going to have to start to pay for the treatment of a large number of patients with advanced liver disease, with decompensated cirrhosis and the complications which flow from that. The notional cost of a liver transplantation, for example, is of the order of £40,000.
Where we are at the moment is perhaps only a very small minority of people in Britain with hepatitis C have been treated. Well under 10% of the people who are infected. We need to get to 50% of the hepatitis C infected population treated to have any chance of stopping people dying in very large numbers in the future of liver disease.
Not that we could treat the epidemic at the moment, as there's not enough specialists in the UK.
Hepatologists working in district general hospitals, like myself, we have to cope not only with hepatitis C, but with hepatitis B and the epidemic of alcoholic liver disease. And also, we have to participate in acute medical rotas. So we are spread very thin, we hepatologists.
I think politicians look and say, what gives us bang for buck? What has impact and what buys us votes? And the answer is that you get very popular if you release a new drug for cancer treatment. You get very unpopular if you ban a new drug for cancer treatment. On the other hand, if you don't do anything about hepatitis C, no one seems to care, no one seems to notice.
We asked the health minister again and again to appear in this film, but they always refused.
Don't push me away when I kiss you.
You're like a flipping 6-year-old girl, aren't you? Having a tantrum.
Well, tell me what's been the worst bit of the treatment.
You can't do anything.
Like what?
Nothing, really. At the moment, you can't do nothing. You can't walk. Sometimes you can't talk.
Do you think I look different then?
Yeah?
In what way?
Nothing.
No, you can tell me.
Chubby cheeks.
God, do I look really fat?
No! You just got chubbier cheeks.
What?
You're always complaining about you're getting fatter. So do you think maybe your cheeks will get a bit bigger?
Do I look fatter?
No, you don't.
Just asking something. Don't you think I've done quite well?
Of course you have.
Oh, you just sounded like I'd just been an annoying and horrible and fat-cheeked person.
Well, you have. But you've done well.
How?
You have. You've been annoying, you've been horrible, you've been ultra annoying, and you've been really horrible, and you have got chubbier cheeks, but you've done well.
I had in fact gained weight, which really depressed me, but at least I had a diagnosis and I was trying to beat the disease. Some families haven't even had the chance. I went to Surrey to meet Kiri, Kalina and their mother Gay, whose husband Peter unknowingly caught hepatitis C from a blood transfusion 25 years ago.
My husband was taken to hospital with a very bad infection in his foot, which he had got as a result of his accident many years ago, and his stomach was really swollen, so they did further tests and found out that he got hepatitis C, which was very shocking to start with because we had not heard about it at all. He was told he'd need a liver transplant as his liver was really, really bad. He then found out he was going on the list, came home at Christmas. We thought everything was going to be great. We were all really, really happy. We thought we were going to have a lovely family Christmas with Peter at home. And then he had become ill. I got him to the hospital and he was virtually dying then. They tried to resuscitate him and they couldn't.
He died within the space of like 4 months of being diagnosed, and that's just amazing because how are you supposed to do anything about it when he's been told so late?
I'm really upset, particularly for my girls. I am extremely angry that he didn't know that he had this disease, because I really feel he'd be alive today. I think the National Health Service should have screened everybody. I can't believe that we haven't been told about it. I really can't. My husband's been to the doctor several times. They knew he'd had a bad car crash. Nothing was mentioned.
I'm going to be 16 next week, but it's also going to be my dad's 54th birthday on the same day. So I've got to go knowing the rest of my life that I'm going to have a birthday without my dad.
I feel that everybody should be aware of this. If anybody has had a blood transfusion when they were younger, they need to get tested, and otherwise they're going to end up like we are.
I hate actually talking about what's going on. You know, when I've got friends, when I see friends, and my worst question from anyone at the moment is, how long have you got left? And you go, oh God, you know, I just don't even want to talk about it. Oh, Daniel,
yeah.
You can do something really nice.
What?
Make me a cup of tea. I love to have a cup of tea with my injection. There's 7 to go after this, Daniel.
What?
7 to go after this.
7?
Yep.
Wow.
To find out more about high-risk groups, I travelled to Huddersfield to meet Shabana, who has successfully cleared the virus. She and her nurse Siobhan have won lottery funding to raise awareness in the Asian community.
I have lived in a lot of countries. I have lived in the UK. I was born here, I was brought up here, went to school here, got married here. I've had children here as well. But I think personally I caught it from Pakistan, from our stay in Pakistan, because we were there 5 years and I went to schools there. And every so often, whenever you felt ill, even if it was your monthly periods, you know, because I suffered really badly. And as soon as I got to the doctor, first thing, without even asking what the symptoms were, they would put an injection in your arm. And he would remove the syringe itself from a metal container. Once or twice I did get a chance to look inside it, and it was like dirty water at the bottom. You know, and the sides would be corroded.
In Pakistan, hepatitis C is as big a crisis as AIDS in Africa. So Shabana and Siobhan are going there to find out why.
So we're going to be talking to people with hepatitis C in Pakistan, really to try to get a very clear picture of how it's being passed on there. Because many people from this country weren't born in Pakistan who've got it. They've just visited it, spent sometimes very rarely, just popped there once in their 20s or something, and now they've got Hep C. Well, I want to know why, because that's preventable. There ain't no vaccine for Hep C. The only way we can prevent it is from education. And if there's the simple message that we can give to people, like don't go to the barber shop, or don't get an injection when you go to the GP, or if you have to have an injection, watch them open it in front of you, that'll save people's lives, eh? I mean, it's simple, really.
Since I've been on the treatment and had my 5 minutes of fame on the wall in the local papers, I've been approached by a lot, and I mean a lot, of Asian men and women, and I've been very surprised.
Why?
You know, close friends of the family, they were saying like, okay, jokingly even, where did you catch that from? Where have you been to have caught hepatitis C?
What do you think they meant by that?
Well, they thought hepatitis C was something, it was a dirty disease. Because I knew a little bit more about it, I was saying, no, it's not.
Oh, there's some heartbreaking stories of people who've got Hep C who won't tell their family. I mean, and or, you know, to get through the treatment is hard enough, but to get through the treatment and it being a secret is heartbreaking. In fact, I even have a ready lie for people. I tell people, well, just tell people you've got the big C, and they won't ask any more questions, and tell them you're on chemotherapy, because this treatment is a chemotherapy. I mean, you know, they use interferon for some cancers, so you're not telling a lie. Just be a bit vague, and then you'll see how much sympathy you get.
As part of my own pledge to increase awareness, I agreed to do a TV interview.
I'm a bit agitated at the moment because obviously we're still in the car and it's like 11:25.
What time are you on?
11:30. I'm not going to do any more of these because it's too fucking stressful. You know, I'm feeling ill.
Do you know what you're going to talk about yet?
No. That's why it would be nice to get there on time to, you know, even know what questions I was going to be asked. And it's going to be flung straight onto fucking live TV.
I'm going to start with you, Gemma. You contracted Hep C in about 1987, but it was 14 years until you realised you got it. What happened?
Well, the symptoms are pretty woolly, really. I mean, you might not have them
He's got a name
for
on
10 years or so. And then
They get Gemma, they put Gemma with a J and Pepe with only one P. No. Probably got her name wrong too.
Go and get the towel.
It's the day of my last injection and I'm helping Louie pack for a holiday. Everything is getting a bit much.
Fucking hell. Why don't you look? When you look for things, you generally pick things up, look underneath them, see. Do you know what I mean? They don't just jump out at you because you've opened the cupboard.
They just jumped out at you just then. Just jumped at you.
Do you take anything else? Toothbrush, deodorant.
Oh yeah, of course. Let's get my deodorant.
There's a toothpaste, there's a new toothpaste in there you can have.
Can I just have the old one?
What are you doing?
I'm trying to find this imaginary Colgate thing. Can I just take the old...
Have a look in the cupboard.
Yeah, what do you think I'm looking?
I don't know, Louie, because whenever I ask you to find something, it seems to be like...
Just take the old aloe vera stuff.
Christ. Do you know, I...
No.
Oh, funnily up. I just lifted something up and there it was underneath it.
Yeah, but I'm not as tall as you.
Why is it that boys just can't find anything? You say go and get... Can you bring me the other stuff?
What stuff do you want? Tell me what you want and I'll bring
Your fucking toothbrush!
Flipping out!
Oh!
Calm down!
Well, Louie, you're so annoying. What else do you think I meant? You know, I asked you to go and get the toothpaste. You can't even bloody manage that. Bath and brush it. No, don't. It's too annoying.
I'm not doing anything. God, calm down.
Right, now put this on your back and see if you can handle it.
It's okay.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's good. Do you want to try it out?
No, because I've got a tummy ache that's killing me.
It's Christmas, and at last I'm at the end of this brutal year of treatment. I just hope and pray that all the stress has been worth it.
It's highly likely I'll have a clear response tomorrow, undetectable response tomorrow, but then I still have to wait 6 months, and during that 6 months I've got a 50-50 chance of relapsing. I suppose tomorrow will be a kick in the teeth if I haven't, if I've still got virus.
How are you feeling? Good. Because I got a message from, I think you spoke to Kath Oakes.
Yeah, I feel much better now, much better. And I still get really achy.
Right. We have got the result back, Gemma, and I'm really sorry,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's not good news. The virus is detectable again. It's dreading telling you. I mean, I've got the result printed out as well, so.
Oh, fuck.
I know. After all the 48 weeks of having a really difficult time with treatment.
Oh, fucking hell. It's really not what I wanted.
I know, of course it's not.
God, fuck. Well, so what now then? I just
what now?
do it again in a few years?
With the pregnancy on treatment at the moment, the guidelines are that you have this course of treatment with the ribavirin, and if you don't respond, then basically, you'll be followed up in the doctor's clinic. At the moment, there aren't any other antivirals on the market.
Oh, well.
5 months later, and the news is still sinking in, but I'm determined to get on with life. What really makes me angry is the government still refuse to take this disease seriously. When Charles Gore called a press conference to make this point yet again, I was keen to attend.
I'm Steve Ryder, I'm a hepatologist from Nottingham. Welcome.
I can't believe that after 3 years, only 16 of the 191 primary care trusts surveyed are implementing the government's action plan. Afterwards, I bumped into Professor William Rosenberg, who has been researching government responses to hepatitis C across Europe. Can you tell me which European country is doing better than the UK at the moment in tackling the problem?
Well, I'd really like to highlight France, because I think they've done fantastically well. They've got a similar sized population to us, and a similar sized burden of hepatitis C to us, and yet they've diagnosed 5 times more cases and treated 12.5 times more cases than we have. And there are a number of reasons why that's the case. They identified hepatitis C as a serious healthcare problem very early on. They developed a strategy for dealing with hepatitis C very early on, which had real money behind it and real targets.
Can you give me an indication on how much we need to spend now in order to save money in the future?
We need to spend something like £700 million over the next 8 years. But if we spend that money, we will save billions of pounds in avoiding the costs of decompensated liver disease, premature death, loss of income and earnings from people dying from chronic liver disease. We could save tens of thousands of lives by spending that money.
How much is the UK government spending on the media campaign?
They've spent £2 million on the awareness campaign, and that contrasts with £40 million per annum on raising awareness of the switch to digital TV. What do you think is more important?